Sometimes providing power means lending a hand. So Entergy sponsors free tax return assistance and financial education to help our customers take control of their future. Together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
Would you rather your child in front of a high-quality teacher 4 days a week, or would you rather your child in front of a sub 5 days a week?
Schools in Avoyelles Parish adopt a 4-day school week.
The refinery is built in order to operate as efficiently and at the highest level of capacity that it can.
The impact of high water on the economy and the environment.
There was always that dream.
The inspiration and mystery from a modern-day campus chapel. Hi everyone, I'm Natasha Williams.
And I'm Andre Moreau. Great to have you here. Much more on those top stories in a moment, but first, on this week's edition of SWI, a look at other headlines making news around the state. The Supreme Court announced it will consider overturning a criminal conviction by a 10-2 jury in Louisiana. The announcement comes just 4 months after state voters amended the state constitution to prohibit non-unanimous verdicts in criminal cases. But the court's ruling could have serious impact on our legal system, since the new law only applies to cases concerning crimes that occurred after January 1st of this year. U.S. Representative Ralph Abraham is urging President Donald Trump to consider Louisiana for the future headquarters of the proposed Space Force. In a letter to the president, the Republican congressman suggested the state would be an ideal location because of its strong relationship to both the military and NASA. Abraham, who was also running for governor, said Space Force would fit perfectly at the Barksdale Air Force Base in Bossier City. The Space Force would be the first service addition to the U.S. military since the creation of the Air Force in 1947. Louisiana's Attorney General is appealing a federal judge's decision to throw out a lawsuit claiming a federal canal has expanded beyond the boundaries set in a 1920s agreement. Attorney General Jeff Landry says the Gulf Intracoastal Waterway is eating into state land in Vermilion Parish and blames the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for allowing the waterway to widen. In February, a federal judge said the court did not have jurisdiction in the case. The Louisiana Department of Revenue is still working to collect nearly $26 million it incorrectly sent to taxpayers last week. The agency says it has recovered more than $22 million of tax refund overpayments, but is working to recoup the rest. State officials say more than 66,000 taxpayers were double paid their state refunds last week due to a computer glitch. Governor John Bel Edwards is asking lawmakers to spend an additional $19 million on higher education this year. The governor says the additional money is necessary to fill gaps in the state's TOPS programs, help schools facing accreditation issues, and to boost online resources for students. State tourism officials were in Western Canada this week to showcase Louisiana as a tourist destination. The 9-person delegation met with tour operators, travel agents, and riders at a series of promotional events in Vancouver and Calgary. Lafayette chef Ryan Trahan even held cooking demonstrations highlighting our seafood. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser says Canada is one of the top tourism markets for the state and accounts for more than 40% of the state's international visitors.
A 4-day school week can save money and help recruit and retain certified teachers, and hundreds of districts across the country have adopted it. But will it work in Avoyelles Parish? Administrators, teachers, and others say it's worth the gamble. We took the trip to Marksville to talk about it just days after the school board voted to try it.
Well, actually, I was a student here at this school, that classroom.
Nicole Gaia is now the principal at Marksville Elementary School.
So I remember career day in 4th grade. I wanted to be a teacher.
The mother of 3 who grew up poor found her role model right here in these hallways.
Miss Verna Will, she was just, she was a legend.
She was the first in her family to go to college and graduate.
What she did for me, I said, one day I can do that. I could give back by doing that for another child. She just inspired me to go and be a teacher. I got so much from her. I'd say she saved my life.
This is Gaia's first year as principal at Marksville Elementary, one of 10 schools in the district that starting this fall will be holding classes 4 days a week instead of 5.
Because when we do have issues, you know, if there's something that requires my attention during the day, I normally can trace it back to not having that certified teacher in the classroom, that teacher that knows how to manage behavior. So things that will upset my day normally go back to not having that teacher in that place.
The Avoyelles Parish School District currently has 20 uncertified teachers in the classroom every day.
I believe that resource alone will make the days go a little bit smoother. And anytime you can put a certified person in front of our students, that is giving them the best opportunity to learn.
And Superintendent Blaine Doza is counting on it.
After some study and after some talking and with a few other districts, mainly Caldwell Parish, who does it here in Louisiana, kind of morphed into well, here's our chance to possibly give our teachers a perk so that we can attract and retain teachers.
Doza says teachers in his parish earn the lowest pay in the entire state. And he says 50 to 60 teachers that live in Avoyelles Parish drive 30 minutes or more every day for better paying jobs in neighboring parishes.
We attempted to get the public to vote in a tax a few years ago to give our teachers a raise, and the public voted that down. So we don't see that as a very viable possibility anytime soon. So rather than give them more money, what other perk could we think of? And we believe the 4-day week is something that's going to be very attractive, and we're hoping to keep our teachers that were considering going somewhere else for more money, and maybe get a few of them back, those teachers that live in Avoyelles and are driving other places to work.
So at a recent Avoyelles Parish School Board meeting, what started as an informational session ended in a vote for what some call a radical move for the small school district.
We recently had elections, obviously, as we're across the state. Well, 7 of our 9 board members are new. The parish voted in almost a completely new group. And so this group came in and kind of heard the carryover rumbling from the previous board and said, well, wait a minute. Maybe we should think outside the box here.
He says many felt they had to.
It began as a conversation on how to save money. The state has authorized a group to open a 3rd charter school in our district, and we're a relatively small parish to have 3 charters, so we're anticipating losing some students. Obviously, you lose students, you lose MFP dollars. So conversations began of, okay, we're going to have to start thinking about which school to close. There's only so many cuts you can make when you start talking about $1.5 million to $2 million and what you may lose.
Doza says the 72 vote for the 4-day school week is just the start of what he hopes will be many steps to push the C-rated district toward higher test scores and student achievement.
We have struggled, but we recently got some really good news. We were named the #1 growing district in the state of Louisiana for the previous 3 years. We're, I think, rolling the dice and banking on the fact that bringing in more teachers will help us continue to grow. So, the parent that says, this is fewer instructional minutes, how can this benefit? My question would be, would you rather your child in front of a high quality teacher 4 days a week, or in front of a full day sub, or a computer having to take a class online 5 days a week?
Parent Carrie Bonton supports the move, but understands other parents who have concerns.
I work within the school system, so it would work well for my schedule. However, parents that do not work within the school system, it may be an issue. However, I think they would be able to adjust to it.
And she also believes it could be the boost the district needs to move forward.
I think it will be, because the 3-day break would provide them with some extra rest, additional time to maybe reboot, to get it together.
Before leading the Avoyelles Parish School District, Doza worked for Caldwell Parish in northern Louisiana, a B-graded district that has been using the 4-day school week model for 11 years. The schools there have shown overall student performance improvements in 9 of the 11 years. More than 500 school districts have switched to 4-day weeks, among them schools in Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, New Mexico, and South Dakota. The superintendent says support for the move to a 4-day school week has been mixed.
In different areas of the parish, we've seen different levels of support. I've got a few board members who have told me that most of their constituents have been positive. I've got a few board members who have told me that almost every call they've gotten has been anti.
For Doza, the bottom line is getting certified teachers in every classroom and keeping them there. And he says if this is the route they have to take, he says ultimately it will be worth it.
I was at one of our elementary schools this morning, and we're in March, and our 6th grade class is on their 3rd teacher this year. That's not fair to those kids. And we've got to think about a way to stabilize their education and give them a high-quality teacher.
And former teacher turned principal Nicole Gaia is convinced those who aren't on board will be once they see just how good the change will be for the district.
They don't see the negative impact of not having that teacher in the classroom. It's not that they're pushing back out of malice. I think they're pushing back simply because they don't know all the facts.
The parish is already working on ways to make changes because they have to accommodate bell times and bus schedules. And they've also added a 3rd meal at no cost because of the slightly longer school day. And the kids will love this. Get this. No daily homework assignments.
Well, the powerful Mississippi River is something that you always know is there, but you may not really give much thought of unless you are crossing it or staring at it. Now, it's another matter if what's happening on the river has a direct impact on your day-to-day life, and when the water is high like it is right now, it certainly has a major impact on the state's day-to-day operations. It's not lapping over the top of the levee, but the water level of the Mississippi River at Baton Rouge is just above 44 feet. That's 3 feet from reaching the top of the levee, which has a height of 47 feet. While levees largely protect homes and people in Louisiana, when the water is so high, especially for long periods of time, it does have an impact on the economy and the commerce along the river. And there are impacts on the environment.
Louisiana Mid-Continent Oil and Gas Association represents the refineries here in the state, and with that membership we work with them during the Mississippi High River event, primarily because a refinery is built in order to operate as efficiently and at the highest level of capacity that it can. So when you have a situation like a High River event, you're going to have a situation in which shipping and movement of products in and out of the refinery becomes problematic. So with that, a refinery is forced to work within the confines of those shipments, which means lower rates, lower productivity, less efficiently, which is a problem for commerce here in the state.
This winter, and now moving into spring, the river has been high for several months.
When you have an event that goes on longer than you would expect for any situation, you do begin to cause some issues within the facility. Luckily, the facilities have enough experience, whether through hurricanes or events like this that happen, it feels like annually, they are prepared to work through those. So what is that actual loss? They will plan for it. They do prepare for it. They try to make sure that they could potentially get more product by pipeline, or you have some sort of contract in the future that'll be able to manage that. But they do try to plan for it, but it does affect them. As soon as it starts to get to a point when you're tracking it and you see the level increasing and rising, they will start to react to it at that point. Is there a threshold? There is, but I think it depends also like sort of how their docks are positioned, the way that they're importing and exporting materials. You know, it could be fact specific, but in general, they start to pay attention as a whole whenever there's a flood level. We've been around since 1923. We're the longest and oldest standing trade association in the state. Recently, we found out that we might have one other association that's older. It's the Pest Control Association, but I'm not sure they're as active as we are. So we like to think of us as the oldest working and operating trade association here in the state.
The State Department of Wildlife and Fisheries was officially created in December of 1944, but has been around in one form or another and with a series of names since 1909. Harry Blanchet is a biologist who's been with the department for 30 years.
Historically, and every year, the Mississippi comes up and goes down. And so a lot of our environments along the river and in the areas that are affected by the rivers are pretty well acclimated to those types of seasonal events. So things like wildlife, fish, all have responses to rivers going up and coming back down. Wildlife will take its cues and tend to move out in front of those rivers, and there's typically not a whole lot of at least population level impacts to wildlife because of these natural events.
If a spillway opens, as the Bonnie Carré was in late February to keep the Mississippi from overflowing at New Orleans, there's a new set of issues that can come.
When the Bonnie Carré opens up, it's going to be putting some cooler water into Lake Pontchartrain. It's gradually going to fill up the lake. One of the obvious benefits of opening the Bonnie Carré is that we always have this nice little harvest of crawfish that happens when that water goes away, and that's a part of a natural cycle in a floodplain system. One of the reasons that we have so many crawfish in the state of Louisiana is we have these floodplains that these crawfish are adapted for. The river then goes into Lake Pontchartrain. With that river water comes a lot of nutrients from the whole drainage basin of the Mississippi. And this comes from a variety of sources, from farms, it comes from cities, households. All of that gets into Lake Pontchartrain and actually down the Mississippi, down the Atchafalaya, into a lot of the coastal waters of Louisiana. The good side of that is that helps support plankton blooms that provide a lot of fishery productivity. However, if you ever heard of too much of a good thing, you can have too much of a good thing. And when you have too much of a good thing, you end up with such a strong plankton bloom that when it dies off, the oxygen is removed from the water. And so you can have some fish kills in those situations as well.
There can be an impact on the state's precious oyster industry as well.
Oysters can take fresh water longer when the water temperatures are cooler, because those cooler water temperatures contain more dissolved oxygen, and also the oyster is not metabolizing as quickly. But as waters warm up, or if it lasts too long, they still are a species that requires a certain level of salt in the water. So eventually they will die, especially in the more impacted areas.
Meantime, the Army Corps of Engineers says the worst flooding in 50 years in Nebraska and other parts of the Midwest should only have minimal impact on the lower Mississippi River, and more specifically, areas important to us in Louisiana. So the river is forecast to slowly begin to recede over the next week and then continue dropping over the next month and beyond. Well, LSU beat Yale on Thursday to advance in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. It's known, of course, as March Madness.
Besides the Tigers, others winners include some of the 47 million American adults who wager $8.5 billion over the course of the competition. But Louisiana residents will need to head to Mississippi to bet legally. That's unless legislation passes this session to allow sports gaming in the state. Louisiana Public Square looks at the pros, cons, cost, and benefits of sports betting this month.
We need to have sports betting in Louisiana to keep our own casinos competitive, for one, because there's already a trend right now where people are crossing state lines and going to Mississippi casinos where they have, I think, 23 sports books open right now. And that's taking money from our own casinos and revenue that we would be receiving in the state and moving it across the state line.
Gambling's business model is misleading at best. We tell people play every day and get lucky every night. That's not true, but nobody's called them on that. There's a depreciation of their promises in terms of what they return on their investment to the communities, and there's an impact upon families, upon individuals, and upon businesses and communities that the revenues do not nearly offset.
The board will not take a position one way or the other supporting the bill or speaking against it. But from a regulator standpoint, the public is always better served in a regulated gaming market compared to an unregulated market. And there's a huge unregulated market in Louisiana today.
What are the odds? Sports betting in Louisiana airs next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. You can find more program details at lpp.org/public square. The look of Xavier University St. Katharine Drexel Chapel in New Orleans is uniquely modern. It was designed by world-famous architect Cesar Pelli.
The $10 million chapel was built on the northeast edge of the campus next to I-10, the expressway. Producer Dorothy Kendrick talks with Sister Monica, who tells us the history of the chapel and what it means to Xavier.
If you look back into the history of Xavier, Katharine Drexel, Mother Katharine Drexel, now St. Katharine Drexel, who built Xavier and funded it and started Xavier University, planned from the 1920s on to have just a freestanding chapel at the university. The plan was there, the pictures were there, but the money, the priority was not there. We did have a chapel in the main building that was well utilized, but there was always that dream. Actually, Dr. Norman Francis, who was president for 47 years, decided after the canonization of Katharine Drexel that we had to have the chapel. And so he worked with a lot of colleagues here at Xavier, outside influences as well, to say we're going to do it. We were blessed because Cesar Pelli donated his services to us to do all of the design and the architecture. He did a great job of going to the mother house of the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, where Mother Katharine Drexel is buried, and looked at the burial place. We have a crypt where she's buried, looked at that, talked to a lot of the sisters, realized that whatever would represent Katharine Drexel and Xavier University would be simple, would be light-colored, would look a lot like the crypt. If you're ever at our mother house in Philadelphia, you'd see that even the stone is the same. So he tried to design it to represent what Katharine was about. He also talked to a lot of the folks who are at Xavier now to try to get some sense of what we would do to represent Katharine, and also to do something that was modern and that was readily visible to the city of New Orleans. He completed it, and with Dr. Francis, we were able to open in 2012. It has been a real source of letting other folks know that we are Catholic, that we are a university that's dedicated not to making Catholics, but to encourage spirituality, to encourage centeredness, especially of our students, as well as our faculty and staff. When I first saw the drawings, I was not only thought it was mysterious, but quite confusing, but it draws you to it, and you want to come in, you want to see what is this about. And it does have a lot of mystery even on the inside. You're in here with hardly any lights on, and yet the light is coming through. You see the green roofs at Xavier. The green roofs originally were designed to match the administration building, which had a copper roof. And so that had become green, and we went with green. The idea now of having another copper roof that eventually will turn green, Cesar Pelli said that it's very much like what we hope with the students when they come. There's a transformation that takes place, and that it is represented by the transformation and the patina that will happen not only with the roof but with the whole chapel. I think the whole idea of religion and faith has a mystery to it that none of us can explain, but that draws one in to whatever faith tradition one has. And this chapel does. The students say, the faculty and staff say, you come in and at once you're at peace. You know that you're not alone. You have some comfort in being here. The risen Christ, it's the first thing that you notice when you come into the main part of the chapel. A lot of the reasoning behind it was the idea, Pelli, that what we're looking for at Xavier is to have students ascend, to get what they need from Xavier and to move on. So he said, kind of as a reminder of our faith in Jesus and the fact that Jesus died on the cross, you can still see the wounds, but it's also a reminder that Jesus rose. And so we are reminded that that is the Jesus that we want to be in touch with, that we want to rise as well. The stained glass windows with the Stations of the Cross have that blue. They have red. Every time you see Jesus, you see a red heart on Jesus. The statue at the front door is of St. Katharine Drexel. One of the ways you can always know if you see a statue of St. Katharine Drexel, she's never by herself. There's always children with her. Katharine was a wealthy Philadelphian, a Drexel of the Drexel bankers, very wealthy woman who was encouraged by her family to use her wealth for others. Stewardship was important, faith was important to the family, Catholic faith was important. And they were encouraged to use their wealth, and she tried to figure out what she might use her wealth for, and got to know Native American people. She did some traveling, got to know Native Americans, soon became very interested in African Americans, knew that they were people of deep faith, that they were people of great gifts to share artistically, etc., but they didn't have an education. She determined that education is the means to empowerment.
That story is one of many you can find on our Louisiana Digital Media Archives. And that's our show for this week, everyone. Remember, you can watch LPB on demand on your phone or tablet with our LPB Anywhere app.
The download is free from your app store. You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows and other Louisiana programs you've come to love over the years. And please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
For all of us at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Moreau.
I'm Natasha Williams.
Thanks for watching. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Sometimes providing power means lending a hand. So Entergy sponsors free tax return assistance and financial education to help our customers take control of their future. Together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.